Cerebral palsy, CP, is a group of disorders that affects the person's ability to move and maintain balance of posture. So you could say the physical, disability of the person. It starts in some cases how to grab objects, movement of the body, physical body position, the way the person walks and all that. It is the most common motor disability in childhood and is the leading cause of childhood neuro disability in Nigeria. It is also a common comorbidity accompanying causes of autism in Nigerian children. So what I'm trying to say is that you could have a child with cerebral palsy. You could also have other conditions attached to cerebral palsy. So that's what it's called comorbidity. And it ranges from one end to the other. You have a child who will have cerebral palsy. That same child could also have autism. That same child could also have ADHD. That same child could also have Down syndrome. So you have a combination of issues. There could also be other underlying medical conditions, seizure, epilepsy, and all of that. So just like you said earlier, it is very, very challenging to manage these cases. And if the policy says that it's above the government, so who are the parents to talk about? The concern is huge. There's need for us to begin to shift attention to this community. This conference comes as part of IKE Foundation's IKE for Autism Foundation's continuous campaign to eliminate autism stigma and also stigmatization against all special needs cases in Nigeria and of course in Africa and even the world, which forms one of our core pillars. I want to say this. As a foundation, we focus on four operational pillars as tools for engagement under the acronym HEAL, H-E-A-L. So the H stands for health, where that pillar focuses on medical referrals, assessment, and diagnosis of children with special needs with emphasis on autism. And we do that in collaboration with the Ministry of Health at the National Hospital. But again, you will agree with me that, just like I said earlier, when you walk up to a doctor and you tell the doctor you have a headache, your major reason why you're going there is not for the diagnosis, even though that's the fundamental aspect of that treatment procedures. But what you want to hear is what you need to take to tame the headache. And that informs our second pillar. So when a child is diagnosed for identified cases, what is next? So it's not just enough to tell a parent, oh, your child has CP, your child has autism, or has ADHD, or ADD, or other related issues. What they want to hear is what is next. What do we need to do? So that, again, IFA, as much as we can, we have that pillar which talks about education. So in that area, we focus on giving them those basic language, learning and functional skills in preparation for mainstream. So that child that has cerebral palsy or autism or other related needs might not be able to function within that classroom setting. But maybe if that child is given some specialized attention or services or training, the child might be able to make progress so much that the child will be able to function in that regular class setting. So why not? And of course, we do that strictly using one-on-one teaching approaches. Then of course the A, I'm very excited to see the media, and I hope that this is not just about coming to do this. I trust and I believe so much in the media that if you want to do it with us, you can actually do it. So again, we try as much as possible to emphasize on awareness. I'm quite excited to see quite a number of you coming here today. The understanding of what special needs means is very, very limited. That is why there's increased stigmatization, rejection. I tell you what, we're talking about inclusive education, inclusive environment, inclusive society. That is mere theoretical statements. They are not in practice. I tell you from my personal experiences, not just what I studied, reading books, not just research, physical visitation to schools. You go to some schools and the reports you get or the feedback you get, or maybe their responses to you is very, very appalling, and you feel like, oh God, what should I do from here? Go to schools and tell me how many schools have ramp that will accommodate an individual with cerebral palsy that cannot walk and needs a chair to move. She mentioned assistive technology. Fantastic. How many schools can you go and say, okay, we have these technologies to say we're going to use to assist these children or these individuals to learn? And remember, they say education for all. If special needs community is taken off, is not considered, then the society is not complete. And we will be missing it all day long, including economic, setback, because they have so much to contribute to the society. You go to school, must we all be tasked to write? I, as a person, I have issues with writing. There are children with motor issues, fine motor issues. They cannot write. What stops you from making accommodations for them when you just ask them questions and they answer orally? What stops you from giving them computer to type and they're able to access whatever information and you want to give to them? So there's a lacuna, there's a gap, and until that gap is filled up, it doesn't just take let's have a meeting, we'll sit down and we'll talk. It takes conscious effort with the political will to make this happen. And I guarantee you, if we all come to table and we mean business, it can work. I tell you what, it can work. Let's also talk about employment. I will re-emphasize this point again. I've had kids. Let me give you one example. I've said this earlier. That word disability, let us take it off. Let's remove that dis, the dis. Remove it and replace it with this and pronounce it together. This ability. Am I communicating? Because in every child you see struggling to learn, whether in behavioral presentation, movement, or whatever, there's always a skill. Let me give you one instance. I used to have a child, for ethical reasons I don't want to mention it, where the young man would come, all he was doing was to grab paper, pen, and all of that. We took a very critical observation of him, and we discovered that he was very artistic. We channeled that skill. As I speak to you now, the young man is making millions, and 30 seconds, he walks away, he will bring you right on a paper. On the 2nd of April this year, that marked World Autism Day, he sold his work in Lagos for about several millions. And I keep telling people that life is not just about education, but it's more about functionality. It's more about functionality. This young man is able to economically, make some contribution to the society. At the end of the day, he's going to be very independent of any other person. So why not pay more attention? I used to have a child somewhere where I used to work in a school. They had a puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle that was almost the size of this table. The entire people in that school, nobody could fix it. It took this young man 4 minutes, 48 seconds, he assembled it. Tell me, as I speak to you today, the boy, you will not count 5 photographers before you count him. Because we saw that each time he was at the school, he would pick up objects, he would be doing this, doing that, doing this. And we said, why not channel this energy into something more productive? The young man will give you a shot from nowhere, and if you see his pictures, they are so fantastic. So why ignore them? Why? Why? The government, private institutions will have to make conscious effort to make sure that happens. And talking about the last pillar, which has to do with learning, that has to do with capacity building. So IFA also, conduct training for parents, for caregivers, medical doctors. Just like you said, there's limitation with regards to our medical system. We have limited manpower. We have limited knowledge. Like I've always said, I can't imagine a world without medical doctors. But when it comes to certain special needs, especially autism, there's limitation. We need to begin to re-emphasize this need for them to know what we're doing. And of course, like I've always said, please, this is to the government, to parents, to society in general. If you have not come across special needs, it simply means that it has not passed you. It hasn't passed you. So we must treat them with highest level of dignity, respect, and honor. They have a voice. We need to give them that platform to air their voices. IKE Foundation for Autism was established in 2008. It's a non-profit and non-governmental organization, NGO, dedicated to serving all persons living with autism in Africa and supporting them to live productive and fulfilling lives, irrespective of age, race, religion, sexual orientation, income level, or gender. The foundation provides services to the autism and specialist community, including cerebral palsy community in the areas of health through assessment and diagnosis, like I said earlier, education, through its early intervention center programs, awareness and advocacy, and through capacity building projects, which help people to learn more about the subject of special needs and advocacy. We have talked about the existing gaps. There is so much more to the existing gaps. So much more. So much more. So please, let's take the message out there, so that those that need to know, those at the levels of policy making, decision making, and all, they should understand what it is. Unfortunately, the things you see, if you go into the system, it's so appalling. It's very appalling. The media, I want to say thank you for coming. With you, our messages will be heard. Thank you very much.